So I just clip the ends off with a set of side cutters. Now this is the bottom. And just file it back so it's nice and flat. Now at this point what we can do is we can cut our claws. I cut them about 3 mil long just so that I have plenty to work with. So this is our basic setting. Make your ring shank the way you would normally. Cut out a section on the solder line where it fits this perfectly, and make sure the sides of the ring shank fit the chenier perfectly, because you can't reform it once it's soldered. It has to be good after you solder, otherwise you melt the solder, flip it out and redo it. You can't reform it. So when it's good, put it on your third hand. Easy solder on these two bits because we don't want to melt the solder that our prongs are put on with. Take your piece out of the pickle, have a look, make sure the joints are beautiful. Measure your stone, and even though you've already measured it, measure it again. Measure a round burr, make sure it's the same size. And what we're going to do is use the round burr to just go down even with the edge of the chenier, and always put a little bit of burr wax on your burr. And the reason we use round is because it's self-centering. So I've just gone down almost to the edge of the chenier. Now we're going to go in with a stone setting burr, and that's just to get the bottom so that it matches the angle of the pavilion. When you put your burr in your calipers to read what size it is, turn it. If you don't turn it, you'll get a false reading. So now we're just going to go straight in. I've got this held in my vise, and one of the reasons is it's easier to make sure that your burr is straight up and down if you can lean back and look at it. We're just going to spin that up. Turn it fairly slow. You would rather that it didn't chatter. If it chatters, it leaves a little mark on the base. So turn it slow, and you should be right. Now I'm going to drop my stone in so that I can get my claws the right height. Be careful when you hold your stones with the tweezers, because you can chip even a diamond. So we're just going to push the stone in, make sure it's nice and level, and then take your side cutters and touch the tip on the stone and make sure that it's level. And if you do that, it'll be the right height for the stone. It'll be slightly high, but that's okay. And make sure that the stone doesn't move. Yep, do all four. Now at this point, take the stone out. You don't actually have to take it out, because if you want to file it back, the stone is harder than the file, and you can just file right to the top of the stone. Yep. When you get to the top of the stone, stop, and we'll take the stone out, take the ring out, and thin these claws. So I put the bench peg back on, and what we're going to do is file these claws to roughly half their thickness. Be careful you don't hit the ring shank. And what we're doing is we're making it prettier, but we're also making it thinner so it's easier to push over. I've filed the claws to half their thickness. Now it's time to polish it. Don't polish the very top or you'll wear it away. So polish the ring shank and the sides and make sure the buff goes that way. So there's our little setting, polished. Go back into the vise, and I drop it right down so that the chenier is sitting on the vise. And we're going to put our stone back in. So make sure it's perfectly seated. And then we're just going to use a bezel rocker. Keep the stone pushed down and just push the claw over with the bezel rocker. And then once it's set, you can see that with the metal being thin, I'll zoom in, so you can see that these claws are quite easily pushed over. So just make sure that they're nice and snug against the stone, and then we'll just use a burnisher to smooth the edges. Now just take your burnisher and pull from the center of the stone across the edge of the claw and check it with your fingers to just make sure it's smooth. If it's not smooth, it'll catch on your sweaters or whatever else you rub it against. And when you get it so that it feels good to your fingers, it's good. A nice simple little setting.